The community center was decorated with banners reading Martinez Family Reunion 2025, and the smell of barbecue filled the humid Texas air. I sat at the far end of the picnic table, the spot nobody wanted, right next to the coolers where people would constantly reach past me for drinks. "Alex, grab me a beer," my cousin Raymond said, not even looking at me. I handed him one from the cooler. He didn't say thanks. "So Raymond just got promoted to regional sales director," Aunt Linda announced to the gathered crowd of 30-plus relatives. "His territory covers 5 states now. That's my boy." Uncle Joe bellowed, slapping Raymond on the back. "That's what real success looks like." Everyone clapped. Raymond stood up and took a mock bow, his polo shirt stretched tight over his beer gut. "Speech. Speech," someone called out. "Well, you know," Raymond said, grinning, "it's all about working smart, not hard. Identifying opportunities. Making connections. That's how you move up in this world." More applause. My sister Maria caught my eye from across the table and rolled hers, but she stayed quiet. She'd learned years ago not to rock the boat at these things. "Now, Alex," Dad said, his voice carrying that particular tone, the one that said he was about to embarrass me for entertainment, "why don't you tell everyone about your job?" I took a sip of water. "I work in security." "Security?" Uncle Joe laughed. "Like a mall cop?" "Corporate security," I said evenly. "Oh, corporate," Raymond said, making air quotes. "So you watch cameras all day. Real prestigious." The cousins snickered. Someone whispered something and more laughter rippled through the group. "At least it's steady work," Mom said, trying to be supportive in her way. "Not everyone can be a regional director." "That's the spirit," Aunt Linda said, patting Mom's hand. "We can't all be ambitious. Some people are just meant for simpler roles." "How much does that pay?" Raymond asked, leaning forward. "Security guard work? 30,000? 40? Something in that range," I said. "Jesus," Raymond said, shaking his head. "I make that in bonuses alone. But hey, no judgment. Someone's gotta keep an eye on the parking lots, right?" More laughter. I cut into my brisket. "Remember when Alex used to talk about going into law enforcement?" Dad said, and I could hear the disappointment in his voice. "We thought maybe he'd become a detective or something. But I guess security guard was close enough." "Dad," Maria said quietly. "What?" "I'm just saying. We had hopes, that's all." "High hopes," Uncle Joe agreed. "Smart kid like Alex, we figured he'd do something important. But you know what they say, some people just don't have the drive." My cousin Jennifer, who'd married a dentist and never let anyone forget it, leaned over. "Alex, have you thought about going back to school? My husband's dental practice is always looking for office staff. It would be a step up from security work." "I'm good where I am," I said. "See? No ambition," Raymond said, gesturing with his beer. "That's the problem with this generation. No hunger. They're fine with mediocrity." "I wouldn't say mediocrity," Aunt Linda said, though her tone suggested she absolutely would. "Security is important work. Someone has to do it." "Exactly," Dad said. "We're proud of Alex for finding something stable. Even if it's not glamorous." My secure phone, the encrypted one they assumed was just my regular cell, buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. "The thing about real success," Raymond continued on his third beer now, "is that it requires vision. Leadership. The ability to make decisions that impact hundreds, thousands of people." He looked at me. "No offense, Alex, but watching cameras doesn't exactly develop those skills." "None taken," I said. "I mean, when I close a deal, I'm affecting supply chains across entire regions. Jobs. Livelihoods. That's responsibility." He puffed out his chest. "That's what separates the leaders from the followers." My phone buzzed again. Then a third time in quick succession. "Popular tonight," Jennifer smirked. "Is your supervisor calling? Did someone try to steal a laptop?" Laughter around the table. I pulled out my phone. 7 missed calls. 15 texts. All marked urgent. Level 1. "Excuse me," I said, standing. "Uh-oh, security emergency," Raymond said in a mock serious tone. "Someone probably parked in the wrong spot." More laughter. I walked away from the table toward the parking lot and answered the call back. "Deputy Director Martinez," a tense voice said immediately. It was Sarah Chin, my assistant director. We have a level 1 situation. Multiple terrorist cells activated simultaneously. The director needs you at command immediately. My entire body went cold. How many cells? 17 confirmed. Coordinated attacks planned for major metropolitan areas. NSA intercepted the communications 20 minutes ago. We've got 2 hours, maybe less. Where's the director? In the air, returning from Brussels. He's 40 minutes out. He's ordering you to take command until he arrives. The entire Joint Task Force is assembling now. FBI, CIA, DHS, NSA, DOD. They're waiting for your authorization to move. I looked back at the picnic tables. My family was laughing, eating, completely oblivious. How credible is the threat? 97% confidence. Alex, this is real. We need you now. Bring them here, I said. Sir. My family's reunion. Valley View Community Center, Austin. Bring the entire command structure here. We'll run it from the parking lot. Pause. Deputy Director, are you certain? We don't have time for me to drive to the field office. Set up a mobile command center. Full communications suite. Get me video links to all field offices and agency heads. 30 minutes. Sir. Mobilizing now. I hung up and walked back to the table. Everyone was deep in conversation except Maria, who was watching me with a concerned expression. Everything okay? She mouthed. I nodded and sat down. Raymond was in the middle of another story. So I told the client, you want quality? You pay for quality. That's the kind of tough negotiation that closes deals. You have to be willing to walk away. That's real business acumen, Uncle Joe said admiringly. It's about leverage, Raymond continued. Understanding power dynamics. Knowing when you have the upper hand. He glanced at me. Stuff you don't really learn watching security monitors. Probably not, I agreed. My phone buzzed. Sarah, 20 minutes out. Full tactical team. Satellite uplinks. Every agency head is standing by. You gonna answer that? Dad asked, annoyed. Can't you just enjoy family time? Work is calling, I said simply. On a Saturday? Aunt Linda sked. That's what happens in those low-level positions. No respect for your personal time. When you're actually in charge, Raymond said, people wait for you. They don't call you on weekends demanding you handle every little crisis. My phone rang. I answered it on speaker before anyone could comment. Martinez. Deputy Director, this is General Hammond at the Pentagon. His voice was crisp, military precise. We have F-16s ready to scramble for aerial surveillance of the target zones, but we need your authorization to move them into position. The table went silent. Raymond's beer stopped halfway to his mouth. General, what's the current threat assessment? Asked my voice calm. 17 simultaneous targets. Major cities. Our best window for intervention is the next 90 minutes. After that, the cells go dark and we lose them. Authorization granted. Move the aircraft into position but maintain holding pattern until I give the word. I don't want to spook the targets before we have all teams in place. Understood, Deputy Director. Standing by. I hung up. You could have heard a pin drop. Deputy Director? Dad said weakly. My phone rang again. I answered. Martinez. Sir, this is Director Williams. The FBI director's voice was tight with stress. I'm 25 minutes from landing. Sarah briefed me on your mobile command plan. Unconventional, but given the timeline, I support it. Can you hold the fort until I arrive? Sir. All agencies are coordinating through me. We have eyes on 14 of 17 cells. Closing in on the other 3. Good. Alex, I'm putting our entire counterterrorism apparatus under your direct command until I touch down. The President is being briefed now. He may call you directly. Understood, Director. And Alex, don't let these bastards hurt anyone. Whatever resources you need, you have them. Yes, sir. I hung up. The phone immediately buzzed with incoming video calls. I could see notification after notification stacking up. Raymond's face had gone white. You're the FBI Deputy Director? Counterterrorism Division, I said, scrolling through the alerts. I've held the position for 2 years. But you said security, Uncle Joe stammered. National security. You assumed I meant building security. A convoy of black SUVs turned into the parking lot, moving fast. Then more vehicles. Tactical vans, communications trucks, unmarked sedans. Within seconds, the parking lot looked like a scene from a movie. Sarah Chin stepped out of the lead vehicle, phone pressed to her ear, surrounded by agents in tactical gear. She was 50 years old, 25 years with the Bureau, and one of the sharpest minds in counterterrorism. Behind her, a team was already setting up a mobile command center. Satellite dishes deploying, screens flickering to life, dozens of personnel moving with practiced efficiency. "Deputy Director," Sarah said, approaching the picnic area. She handed me a tablet. "Current status. 14 cells located and under surveillance. SWAT teams in position at each location. CIA has identified the funding source. NSA has the communication intercepts. Everyone's waiting for your go order." I scanned the tablet. 14 different cities. 17 terrorist cells. Hundreds of potential casualties if we failed. "Where are the missing 3 cells?" I asked. "Chicago, Seattle, and Miami. We have partial intelligence but no confirmed locations yet." "How long until we lose the window?" 75 minutes, sir." I looked at the data, my mind racing through scenarios, probabilities, risks. Around me, my family sat frozen, forks suspended in midair, mouths open. "Pull up the tactical maps," I said to Sarah. "I want real-time feeds from all 14 locations." "Yes, sir." She snapped her fingers and 2 agents brought over portable screens, setting them up on the picnic tables, right where the potato salad had been moments before. The screens came alive with aerial views, street cameras, building schematics. Each one showed FBI tactical teams in position waiting. My secure phone rang. I answered. "Martinez." "Deputy Director, this is CIA Director Reeves. We've identified the 3 missing cells. Sending coordinates now." "How confident are you in the intelligence?" 92%. "We have assets on the ground confirming. Get FBI teams to those locations. I want eyes on all 17 cells in the next 15 minutes. Already in motion, Deputy Director." I hung up and looked at Sarah. "Status on the SWAT teams?" "Ready and waiting at all locations, sir. They're just waiting for your order." I pulled up the communication intercepts on the tablet, reading through the chatter NSA had captured. The attacks were timed to happen simultaneously in 2 hours. Maximum chaos, maximum casualties. "We go in 90 minutes, I said. "Simultaneous raids on all 17 locations. I want every cell taken down at the exact same moment so none of them have warning to scatter or accelerate their timeline." "Sir." "I'll coordinate with all field offices." Sarah walked away, already issuing orders. Around the command center, dozens of agents were on phones, typing on laptops, monitoring screens. The parking lot had transformed into an operational hub. I looked back at my family. They were staring at me like I was a stranger. "You run counterterrorism?" Dad whispered. "For the FBI?" "Deputy Director of the entire division," I confirmed, my eyes back on the screens. "I oversee all domestic counterterrorism operations." "How many people report to you?" Raymond asked, his voice barely audible. 3,000 agents directly. But for something like this, I have operational authority over multiple agencies. Today that's about 12,000 personnel across FBI, CIA, NSA, DHS, and DoD. Jennifer's phone was in her hand, trembling. He was clearly Googling me. "Oh my God. You're on the FBI leadership page. Your photo is right here." Deputy Director Alex Martinez, youngest person ever appointed to the position, responsible for preventing 23 major terrorist attacks since taking office. 24 after today, I said quietly, "if we do this right." Maria was crying. "You've been doing this for 2 years? Longer." "I was assistant director before the promotion. I've been with the Bureau for 8 years. But you never said anything," Mom whispered. "Operational security," I said simply. "The fewer people who know what I do, the safer I am. And the safer you all are." Another vehicle pulled up. This one had director plates. Michael Williams stepped out, flanked by security. He was 62, silver-haired, and had been FBI director for a decade. He walked straight to me. "Alex," he said, shaking my hand. "Status. All 17 cells located. SWAT teams in position. We're coordinating simultaneous raids in I checked my watch, 83 minutes. Any complications? Chicago cell is in a residential building. Higher risk of civilian casualties. I've ordered tactical to use non-lethal entry protocols. Good call. Williams looked around at my family, still frozen at the picnic tables. I'm interrupting a reunion? You're saving lives, sir. The reunion can wait. Williams smiled slightly. That's why you're my deputy director. He turned to Sarah. I'm here to support, but Deputy Director Martinez has operational command. Everything goes through him. Yes, sir, Sarah said. Williams looked at my father. You must be very proud of your son, Mr. Martinez. Dad couldn't form words. Alex is the finest counterterrorism officer I've ever worked with, Williams continued. He's saved more lives than any of us will ever know. The president personally requested him for this position. He walked toward the command center, leaving my family in stunned silence. My secure phone rang again. Martinez. Deputy Director, this is the White House Situation Room. The president wants a brief. Put him through. A click then. Alex, it's President Morrison. Michael tells me you have all 17 cells located. Yes, Mr. President. We're executing simultaneous raids in 80 minutes. Confidence level? High, sir. We have solid intelligence and overwhelming tactical advantage. Any risk to civilians? We've minimized it as much as possible. One cell is in a residential area, but we're using specialized entry protocols. I trust your judgment, Alex. You've never let us down before. Thank you, Mr. President. One more thing. Congress is briefing on this Monday. I want you there to walk them through how we identified and neutralized the threat. I'll be there, sir. Good luck, Deputy Director. The country is counting on you. The call ended. I looked at the screens. Every cell was now under active surveillance. Every tactical team was in position. 12,000 personnel were waiting for my order. Raymond stood up slowly, his face pale. You just talked to the president. Part of the job, I said, not looking away from the screens. The President of the United States knows your name. He appointed me personally to this position. Oh God, Aunt Linda whispered. We've been mocking you. For years. Yes, I said simply. But you never corrected us, Uncle Joe said weakly. Would it have mattered? I looked at him. Would you have treated me differently if you'd known? Or would you have found other ways to dismiss me? Silence. I didn't tell you because I wanted to know if you cared about me as a person or just as a status symbol. I turned back to the screens. How I know. Sarah approached. Deputy Director, all teams are synchronized. Awaiting your order. I checked the timeline. Everything was aligned. The cells had no idea we were watching. The tactical teams were ready. The window was perfect. Status on the Chicago residential situation? I asked. Team leader confirms they can execute with minimal risk. Building has been quietly evacuated under the guise of a gas leak. Smart. I looked at the clock. We move in 75 minutes. Everyone stays on high alert until then. Yes, sir. For the next hour, I coordinated the largest simultaneous counterterrorism operation in U.S. history. From a parking lot in Austin, Texas, while my family watched in silence. I spoke with field agents in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Seattle, Houston, Miami, and 11 other cities. I reviewed tactical approaches, approved contingency plans, coordinated with local law enforcement. Every decision flowed through me. Director Williams stood beside me, occasionally offering input, but mostly letting me run the operation. You're doing excellent work, Alex, he said quietly during a brief lull. Thank you, sir. Your family seems shocked. They thought I was a mall security guard. Williams raised an eyebrow. A mall security guard who has the president on speed dial? They never asked what I actually did. Their loss, Williams said. You're one of the finest officers I've ever had the privilege of working with. The clock hit the final minute. All teams were in position. All communications were live. 17 simultaneous raids, perfectly coordinated across 12 time zones. All teams, I said into the command radio, this is Deputy Director Martinez. On my mark, you are authorized to proceed. We move in 3, 1. Execute. 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 On the screens, 17 tactical teams moved simultaneously. Doors breached. Flashbangs deployed. Within seconds, all 17 terrorist cells were in custody. Not a single shot fired. 0 civilian casualties. All teams reporting successful apprehension, Sarah said, her voice tight with relief. Sir, we got them. All of them. Director Williams clapped me on the shoulder. Outstanding work, Deputy Director. Reports flooded in. 17 cells neutralized. 43 terrorists in custody. Weapons seized. Attack plots disrupted. Potentially thousands of lives saved. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Ladies and gentlemen, I said to the command center, exceptional work. Sarah, coordinate with field offices for processing. I want full debriefs from every team leader within 24 hours. Yes, sir. I turned to Williams. Sir, I'll have the full operational report on your desk by tomorrow morning. Take Sunday off, Alex. You've earned it. With respect, sir, I'd rather finish the paperwork while it's fresh. Williams smiled. That's why you're my deputy director. But seriously, take the evening. Spend time with your family. I looked at my family still sitting at the picnic tables looking shell-shocked. I'm not sure they want my company right now, sir. Then they're fools, Williams said bluntly. He raised his voice. Ladies and gentlemen, your son and brother just saved thousands of American lives. You should be honored to know him. He walked to his vehicle, leaving me standing there. The command center began packing up. Within 30 minutes, the parking lot was clearing out. Sarah was the last to leave. Hell of a way to spend a family reunion, sir, she said. Could have been worse. True. We could have failed. She smiled. Good night, Deputy Director. And for what it's worth, your family doesn't deserve you. Good night, Sarah. Her vehicle drove away and suddenly it was just me and my family again. The parking lot was empty. The picnic tables were scattered with cold food and abandoned plates. Raymond stood up first. Alex, I don't even know what to say. That's a first, I said. We were so wrong about you. All of us. For years. Yes, you were. Can we? Dad started, then stopped. Can we start over? Can you forgive us? I looked at each of them. Dad, Mom, Uncle Joe, Aunt Linda, Raymond, Jennifer, all the cousins who'd laughed at me. All the relatives who'd assumed I was a failure. I don't know, I said honestly. You spent years mocking me. Years assuming the worst. Not once did any of you ask what I actually did. You just decided I was mediocre and treated me accordingly. But we didn't know, Mom said, tears streaming down her face. That's exactly the point, Mom. You didn't know and you didn't care to find out. You just assumed. We're sorry, Maria said quietly. She was the only one who'd never mocked me. For what it's worth, I always knew you were doing something important. You had that look, like you were carrying something heavy. You should have said something, I told her gently. Would you have told me if I'd asked? I considered that. Probably not. Operational security. Then I'm just glad I know now. He hugged me. I'm so proud of you, Hermano. I hugged her back. The others stood there uncertain. Alex, Raymond said, I said terrible things. About you being mediocre. About having no ambition. I was so wrong. Yes, you were. Can I make it up to you? I looked at him. Raymond, you're a regional sales director. I run counterterrorism for the entire country. We operate at different levels. I don't need anything from you. He flinched like I'd hit him. That's not meant to be cruel, I continued. It's just reality. You all spent years comparing yourselves to me and finding me wanting. Now you know the truth and suddenly you want a relationship. But nothing has changed except your perception. Everything has changed, Dad said. We see you now. Really see you. Do you? I asked. Or do you just see my title? No one had an answer. I need to think about this, I said. About whether I want to maintain relationships with people who only valued me once they learned I was successful. Please don't shut us out, Mom begged. I'm not. I'm just taking time. I checked my watch. I have debriefs to conduct and reports to file. Thank you for the reunion. I walked to my car, a modest Ford because despite my salary I'd never seen the point in flashy vehicles. My family watched me leave, standing in the parking lot where, an hour ago, I'd coordinated the largest counterterrorism operation of the decade. My phone rang as I drove away. The Deputy Director, NSA just confirmed we caught 2 additional suspects in the intelligence sweep. The threat is completely neutralized. Excellent work, Sarah. Sir, the director asked me to tell you. The president wants you at the White House tomorrow for a commendation ceremony. Of course he does, I said, smiling slightly. Also, CNN is already running the story. FBI disrupts major terror plot. You're going to be on the news. Send the media requests to public affairs. I don't do interviews. Already done, sir. Oh, and Deputy Director? Your family is probably Googling you right now. Let them. I hung up and drove home to my apartment in downtown Austin. A normal middle-class apartment because I'd never needed anything fancy. I poured myself a whiskey and sat on my balcony, looking out over the city I'd just helped protect. My phone lit up with texts. Raymond, Jennifer, Uncle Joe, Dad. All of them apologizing, begging for another chance. Maria's text was different. I love you, Hermano. Proud of you. Always have been. I texted her back. Love you too. And thank you. The others I left unanswered. Maybe someday I'd forgive them. Maybe someday we'd rebuild those relationships. But tonight I was going to sit here and enjoy the quiet knowledge that I'd saved thousands of lives while they'd laughed at me for watching cameras. Tomorrow I'd go to the White House and receive a commendation from the president. I'd brief Congress on the operation. I'd coordinate with international partners on the investigation. But tonight I was just Alex Martinez sitting on my balcony, knowing that I'd done my job well. My phone rang one last time. Director Williams. Alex, I just got off the phone with the president. He's recommending you for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Sir, that's not necessary. It absolutely is. What you did today was extraordinary. You saved thousands of lives and coordinated the most complex counterterrorism operation in Bureau history. Take the win, Deputy Director. Yes, sir. And Alex, your family called the FBI Public Affairs Office, asking for confirmation that you're really the Deputy Director. What did you tell them? I told them the truth, that you're the finest counterterrorism officer in the country, and they're lucky to be related to you. I smiled. Thank you, sir. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. I hung up and took another sip of whiskey. Somewhere across the city my family was probably still processing everything. Still reading articles about me. Still trying to understand how they'd been so completely wrong. But I wasn't thinking about them anymore. I was thinking about the 43 terrorists in custody. The thousands of potential victims who'd never know how close they came to disaster. The 12,000 personnel who'd worked together flawlessly to stop an unprecedented threat. And I was thinking about tomorrow and the next crisis and all the work still to be done. Because that's what deputy directors do. We protect people. We save lives. We operate in the shadows while others take credit. And sometimes, just sometimes, the people who underestimated us learn the truth. The view from the top of the FBI wasn't half bad. And I'd earned every inch of it.